My name is Laura. I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in the summer of 2012. I've had two clinical trials of CAR T-cell therapy. The first clinical trial of CAR T I had at UCSF, which is near where I live. That one was not as successful as we had hoped it would be. So about a year later, I entered another clinical trial at the Seattle Cancer Care Alliance. I had to travel there, and I spent 2.5 months in Seattle undergoing that clinical trial. It turned out well for me too. I think clinical trials are great, especially for myeloma patients, because we keep running out of options. And clinical trials expand our options enormously. I think it's really important for myeloma patients to have a doctor who's a myeloma specialist and who knows what's really available, because myeloma, most of us need to change treatments with some degree of regularity. And you just need somebody who can help you navigate all of those different treatments and figure out what's right for you. For the first one, there were only minimal expenses involved. Spending 2.5 months in Seattle, though, was much more significant cost. The Seattle Cancer Care Alliance is very well organized. They have two buildings that are exclusively for patient housing. There's a shuttle that takes you to the clinic, and twice a day, the shuttle takes you to the Safeway grocery store so you can stock up on whatever you need. And that worked out just fine. Well, as always, my primary caregiver is my husband. And when we were in San Francisco, he could easily drive over to the hospital and come see me. And he was glad that there were nurses taking care of me at the hospital, so he didn't have to worry about whether there was some kind of emergency. That was pretty much also true in Seattle. I did go to Seattle alone at the very beginning, because I hadn't really understood how soon I would need a caregiver. And I had a number of volunteers who offered to see me back from the clinic back to the residence that day. Well, the apheresis part of the process. In the second clinical trial, there were 2 appointments. The first one involved inserting something into my neck to remove the cells. And I believe that kind of uncomfortable, but it's not really terribly painful. You have to put up with it for a day from the time it's inserted until the cells are removed and this thing is taken out. In the first clinical trial, I did have bridging therapy. There was a short period when I had chemotherapy to help bring down my myeloma numbers. The infusion itself, I don't remember how long it took, but it wasn't all that traumatic. There are 2 basic types of side effects. One is called the cytokine release syndrome, and the other is neurotoxicity. They were definitely looking out for them, and so was I. The side effects for the first CAR T infusion were a fairly mild set of the CRS, and the neurotoxicity. They included feeling very tired and not able to concentrate. But it only lasted for a fairly short period of time. With the second CAR T trial, I don't even remember the side effects from that first day. My husband was there apparently. People were asking me questions. I couldn't answer them. Not even, what is your name? Although apparently I remembered his name, my husband's name. But other than that, I really couldn't even answer questions. And I don't remember a thing about that day. I'm told that I had some very serious symptoms, fever, effects on just about all my organs. At UCSF, I stayed in the hospital for, I think, about 4 weeks. I don't remember exactly, but it was a prescribed period of time. And then the next 4 weeks after that, I was supposed to stay within a half hour of the hospital in case I needed to come back. My caregiver, my husband, was supposed to notice if I had additional side effects that needed to be addressed so he could bring me back to the hospital. But it turns out our house is close enough that I didn't have to stay in some other residence in San Francisco. So we went home. I don't remember exactly how long I stayed in the hospital in Seattle, but there was an 8-week interval from reinfusion until I could go home. I had repeated need for transfusions because my hemoglobin was low. When I got back to San Francisco, where my own doctor resumed taking care of me, he gave me, or had the clinic give me infusions of IVIG, and that threw off the measurement numbers. So it took us a while to realize that I was pretty much in remission for a significant period of time. My caregiver is essential. He's made so much difference. Oddly enough, his father had this disease. And when I was diagnosed, it turns out he was already pretty familiar with it. Most of us aren't when we first hear the words multiple myeloma. And so he was so helpful in getting me oriented and helping me find the doctor who's still treating me after 8 years. And every time I have an emergency, if I have a high fever and I need to go to the emergency department, we're in the car. Having someone like that, I don't know what I'd do without them. Against hope that this was really going to be a good treatment for me. And it turns out it was. I was really happy about that. The myeloma is starting to come back now. It often does after a year, I'm told. And I just passed the 1-year anniversary. But it's not coming back strongly. It's creeping back in. And I know my doctor's going to be ready with another treatment for me. He's got the next clinical trial already picked out.